Good morning, everybody. We are going to do our best to get started as quickly as possible. Happy Juneteenth. I've got my, I don't think you can see my shirt. I am my ancestors' wildest dream shirt on today. I hope you all have plans to commemorate.
Amen. Amen. I'm gonna leave now.
We've got a lot of people expected on the call today, so we're gonna give them a minute to jump on, but we are going to get started right away. Marching, beautiful. All right, we're going to give it one more minute and then we're going to get going. Okay. So, welcome. It has been a pleasure to spend the last couple of days checking in with the vast majority of you. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to connect with everybody, but I feel like the conversations that we've had so far have been amazing. And it just goes to show that the heart here in DeSoto ISD is big, and people are so game to do the hard work in order to move us into the DeSoto ISD of the future. So I'm not going to belabor this. Our agenda today, sorry, I just skipped right past it. On our agenda today, we are going to do a little introduction activity. And then Dr. Weaver is going to just give us like a high level overview of our mission, our work, our purpose in doing this. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of our design team roles and responsibilities and the time commitment. And then we'll talk about next steps. All right. If you have questions, I ask that you put them in the chat. Ms. Cole Hamilton, I'm going to make a huge request that you monitor the chat for me, please, this morning, and just kind of keep our eyes open for any pressing questions that need to be answered during this call. Otherwise, we will attempt to answer any questions in the follow-up email that will come after this meeting. All right. So norms just for today, when we meet together as an entire team, over the course of the next few weeks, we will develop our own norms. But for today, be present, be thoughtful, ask questions, and assume positive intentions. This is an opportunity for you to get a better sense of the work that we are going to embark upon. And so with an open mind and an open heart and open will, I think we'll be able to make something magical happen. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. I'm going to put you into Zoom rooms. This is an opportunity for us to connect to one another. After we do this activity, we'll come back and we'll meet our partners from Redesign. But right now, I want us as a team to get to know each other a little bit better. So in a second, I'm going to put you into Zoom rooms. And because we are embarking on design work, it's important that we engage in some divergent thinking. We got to have open minds. We got to be creative, because that's going to help us to be able to do this sort of creative work. So what I'm asking you to do is, for the next 5 minutes in the Zoom room that I put you in, I want you to create a haiku. Remember, that's the 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. A haiku to share just a little bit about yourself. Bonus points if you can tie in who you are as a teammate. A lot of you reflected on that in the interest form. And so hopefully that's already kind of fresh in your mind. So really quick, I'll say it one more time, and then I'll put you into rooms. We are going to go into Zoom rooms. You are going to talk to each other. You're going to make up a haiku about yourself, just to share a little bit about who you are. When we come back together, I'm just going to ask for 5 people to share out their haiku. So we can't possibly have all 66 people share their haikus this morning, but 5 people who are like, I absolutely want to show the world what I'm my haiku skills, will get a chance to share those out with the group. Any questions before I split us up? Okay. I think I need to stop sharing in order to do these rooms right now. Here we go. And if redesign folks, if you want to leave your room and come back to the main room, that would be perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Miss Hedgewood, I'm going to move you into a breakout room.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just click this join breakout room up here at the top.
Click that join. Yep.
Okay, where'd it go? It keeps going away.
Let's see, anybody else is not in their room. Still got a handful of folks.
Morning, Antonio. It's good to see you. Mal, can you shoot over the deck so I can see it?
It's the same one. I didn't change it. So if you go to the shared one online, it's the same one.
The one Antonio sent?
Yes. No, not the one she sent. I ended up moving them into it, moving their stuff into ours. What is that?
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Miss Bell.
How you doing, girl?
I'm good. We are in breakout rooms right now. I'm going to try and figure out how to get you into one.
Okay, sounds good.
You want to share the co-host and I can help you throw folks in there?
I don't have an option to co-host.
Oh, we should.
That's
okay.
what we figured out last time. There you are. Miss Bell, you got to click to join that room.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
I don't see it. Is it coming up?
It should have been a pop-up.
Okay, let me see. I think I see it. Okay. Thanks.
No problem. Miss Allen and Miss Brown, you should also have received a pop-up to join a breakout room.
Don't see it yet. Let's see.
I just sent you another one.
Okay.
Same with you, Miss Allen. There we go. So you got to click it when it pops up.
Okay, I don't see, I haven't received it yet.
I will send another one.
Okay.
Here you go. It should say breakout room 10. Should be a little blue button.
Blue button. Oh. Yeah. Okay, gallery. No. I'm looking everywhere. I know
it should just pop straight up on the screen.
It hasn't.
Okay, I'm gonna try another room.
Okay. Okay, let me, I don't know what view am I on. Because I'm missing good information.
Well, we're just doing some introductions in the Zooms.
Okay. I'm sitting here waiting for it to start and time gets away and I realize, oh, it's already started. So now I'm a little on the anxious side trying to play catch up. Okay. Mary, take one more.
Okay, well, it's okay, Miss Brown. It's fine. We're gonna wrap up those rooms in just about 1 minute. Antonia, are you good?
Yes.
I can't hear you. You're muted.
I mean, I don't have. Can you just send that link again? I don't have it.
Yeah. Okay. It's sent. Okay, I'm gonna bring people back together. Welcome back. All right, still waiting on folks to rejoin us. All right, here we go. Everybody's coming back now. All right. Who are going to be our 5 brave souls who are going to put their creative selves out there and share a little haiku about who they are? 5 people.
Group 10, are we going?
All right, so Miss
share.
So Miss Morgan's going to share. That's 1.
I'll
No,
share.
my group is gonna share. I'm just group 10. I'm just
Just
volunteering.
one person, just one person.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
hold
it.
on. I'll share.
All right,
I'm-
Miss Moore's going to share.
I'll share.
Who is that? You got to give me your name.
Brown.
Miss
Brown.
Brown's going to share. Mr. Edgerson's going to share. And one more.
I'll share. Mr. Darden.
Mr. Darden. All right, those 5 folks. Let's hear from you.
Okay, please go. Okay, I'll go first. Get it out of the way. I am a mother, lover of all things teaching, leader, learner, loud.
Snaps from Miss Moore. Yes, love it. All right, next.
I'll go next.
All right, let's-
Um, supporter of all, team leader with energy, a problem solver.
Miss Brown. Yes, that is so good. All right, who's next?
My title is Inferiority. Calm before storm. A belief in greater good. Non-existent complex, so don't test it.
Mr. Darden. Okay, getting real deep. Getting real deep. All right, we've got two more folks sharing with us.
Sherilyn Ingram, Group
Okay.
10. Willingness to learn, empower young minds every day, working together.
And we did ours as a group, not
Oh, I
as a
love it, Group 10. So fully embodying the spirit of teamwork. All right, Mr. Edgerson, you are closing us out.
Okay. It's occurred to me, I am my ancestors' dream. I'm here to stay.
I'm not gonna lie, that brings a little tear to my eye. That's real. That's so real. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for kicking us off so strong. Before I hand it over to Dr. Weaver to give us just a little bit of overview, I want to introduce to you Antonia, who is our one of our partners from Redesign. Antonia, do you want to take 45 seconds to just tell folks a little bit about who you are and why you're here?
Yeah, absolutely. Mallory, can you just shoot to that slide that like there's a little visual of Redesign somewhere in the deck?
That I don't know if it's in this deck.
Oh, do I have a different deck than you?
I'm in my original deck. Sorry.
It should be in there.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh, there he is. Thank you. Awesome.
I've been messing with your deck. Hi, everybody. I met some of you or a few of you when we were doing focus groups a few weeks ago, my colleague Vicki and I, and we had just had such an amazing experience doing that work with you. And so I'm Antonia Rudenstein. I'm the founder of a small education consulting practice called Redesign. And we are just what we sound like. We really believe that the system currently is incredibly inequitable and designed, specifically and intentionally designed so that some students will thrive while others do not. And we're really committed to trying to partner with communities around dismantling that. So that's the main piece of work that we do in the world. We do it with schools, we do it with districts, we do it with states. And in particular, one of the ways that we come at this work is that if we can identify the deep values of a community and the things that they really believe young people can be and who they can be and what they can thrive at in the world, some competencies, then you can realign your whole system around those values of the community and those beliefs in young people. So that's a heart of the work that we'll be supporting your team in doing.
Thank you. I'm so excited about what we're going to accomplish together. All right, Dr. Weaver, you are not confined to these slides. Feel free to kind of share whatever you would like about our mission in this work.
Yeah, and many of you were on the call Tuesday, so I went into a lot of depth, and so I won't waste a lot of time there. I think our mission is very clear. I mean, we have an opportunity to feed one bird with a bunch of seeds, or feed multiple birds with one seed. I don't know. I'm trying not to kill the birds, right? I'm just trying not to kill the birds, all right? I'm not trying to kill two birds with one stone. But here's the things we're trying to solve for. We're trying to solve for, obviously, like, what does school look like in August, and August 2020 through August, I think, through May 21, with all the uncertainties. There's a lot happening. We are trying to, on the technical end, apply for and receive several grants, multi-million-dollar grants that can support directly teacher practice and student learning and engagement, and specifically like within the STEM fields, but just across the board. And then more importantly, on this Juneteenth, what a special day. And we had, I had a conversation about, do we have this meeting on Juneteenth? And for me, the answer is absolutely. Like that, this is why we are doing this. We are trying within our capacities as educators to actually live out this idea of wanting people to be free. And folks that have generally, systematically, and for many, many years have not been free, even after gaining freedom. And so today is really important because we get a chance to solve for the opportunity to better equip our students to be functional, to thrive in this very unstable world. And we have opportunity to think differently about it. And so that causes some tension a little bit because we all have experience teaching and learning, both as a student, as parents, and as professionals in a particular way. And we all have had the thought like, oh, this doesn't necessarily work, or there's some problems here. And fixes to those problems sometimes are in conflict or create tension between what we've known and have understood and have worked in before. These next several weeks are moments for us to grapple with those tensions and to do something differently about it. And we're not trying to be innovative at all here. We're just trying to be different because what we have has not worked at scale for many people. And for many of us, to some degree, we have had some success, but none of us have fully achieved, all of the success because of how systemic racism is in our society. And so we're trying to do our part to help the students that we serve here in our community be different and have better. And so this is what we're designing. At the moment, we're looking to create this kind of pre-K through 12th grade and beyond ubiquitous learning model that one gives our parents choice for next year, in district choice, not like district to district or charter district or, we want people to stay in DeSoto and we want them to have choice within DeSoto. And yesterday, our governor said that, yes, we're going to, schools are open in the fall. And then there's this other asterisk that says, but then families can choose not to send their kids there, right? And so we really know what that means. And we're going to have a lot of families who are not going to do that, especially as cases continue to rise in Dallas County and our area. It just won't make a lot of sense to do that. So we need to have some options that make sure that learning happens at a really, really high level for all of our kids and families, regardless of the mode of learning. And then we want to attract those folks back that have left and that choose other options. Again, we're trying to create a model for a district-wide shift to this competency model that really focuses on deep learning and all those things that better engage students. And then we want to make sure that what we're offering every single kid in our system is at the highest quality level of rigor as we possibly can. And we can do that together by ensuring that the things that they interact with, the units, the experiences are of such. Next slide.
You want that or you want this one?
Nope, that's not me.
Okay.
So I'll stop there and I'll kick it to who's ever next.
Because I want to make sure that we're being very conscientious of people's time. Antonia, do you mind giving kind of a high level overview of the roadmap? And then we will dig into what's the work, because I know that's why everybody woke up this morning, was to find out what did you sign up for?
What did you sign up for? All right. Yes. So yeah. Okay, good. Sorry, I'm just getting myself oriented. All right. So this is we're doing something big, huge, exciting, and a little overwhelming. What we have built out with a few members of the DeSoto leadership team is a way to basically transform how you can do school for the young people who choose to be in the remote world that you are going to create. And it's big, as you can see here. It has, Mallory, could you go to slide? I think there's an easier way to start this. Maybe slide 13. Yeah, okay. Oops, that's not supposed to be there. Sorry, everybody. We're working on a few different decks at the same time. Okay, so on slide 13, what you can see is the 7 buckets of work that we're taking on, or that you have signed on to take on, and we're hoping you're still here at the end of the meeting. And what they are, if you look, I'm going to start with a green. So green and orange are what most of you do every day. How do we teach? What do our students learn? What is a curriculum? And how can we move what we have been doing into a very dynamic, interactive experience for young people online? It's got to be enough that they want to roll up out of bed, you know, in time to see it, to catch it, to do it. And that when you're done with them at the end of an hour or two, that they want to stay and keep working on their work. So most of the team, we're hoping, will join what we're calling the Learning Experience Design team. And it's all about how do we make what's going to happen for young people incredibly exciting and engaging, and also so rigorous that, you know, they are learning incredibly rapidly and in really powerful ways. So that's that team, and that's hopefully most of you. Then there is the pink and the kind of purpley blue team. Those are what do we have to change in our systems and our structures, and what district and state policies do we have to modify, adapt, or fully get rid of? And some of those things are going to be like the schedule. And I'm just going to throw out a couple of ideas. These are not ideas that we're doing, but these are like this is the way we want to think, which is, does school have to happen between 8 and 3? Could we have tutors online from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. who are working with young people when they're actually awake and wanting to do their work? Teenagers in that case, right? Are there, you know, college students or recent college grads who want to do the night shift with kids? So we can think roles differently. We can think about time differently. We are not stuck inside of a box that says the only thing that can happen is from 8:30 to 2:30, and it has to be me who's doing everything. And so the people who join that team are going to be liberators from the clock. They're going to be project mavens, people who can think about how are we going to get this whole thing flowing? How are we going to program? How are we going to make sure everybody can actually get the work done that they need to get done? What tech do we need? All of that. So that's probably a very small group of you, and that's great and fine. It's a big task, but a lot of that work is going to happen at the central office level. Then there's the yellow, which will be led by the National Equity Project, which is culture and community. And it's really about thinking about, how does everybody feel connected in a remote world? How can we really feel like a community where we're known, you as adults, but also young people and their parents? Like, how do we make this feel like home, even though we're not all in the same room together? And what are the routines and rituals? What rites of passage? What celebrations? What meetings? What are the ways that we can feel like we belong? And the National Equity Project has done a lot of work in that. Many of you do. I know you have a lot of different people in your district. So that is not something Redesign will lead, but it's part of this whole framework. Oh, and I forgot to say that TNTP will lead the systems and structures work and the district and state policy work alongside the district office. And then there's what we're calling the competency framework design team. That's going to be a smaller group of like total nerds, honestly. Like,
and Antonio, I'm sorry, let me just jump in really quickly. we are having conversations with other folks that could possibly lock arms with us to help facilitate that. So y'all may hear some names of folks out there, but right now we're just we're just kind of brainstorming, have some different conversations. But just want to throw that in there. Go ahead, Antonio.
That's awesome. Thank you. So the competency framework design is literally saying, if the community values these things, if we think students can get good at these 15 things, how do we build a framework? How do we build a learning progression to get to those 15 things? And that is all like based in research about how people learn. It's based on what we know about the professional world. It's based in research on employment. It's like that's like the geek room, the super geek room. So, and also if you love the teaks, that's a good place to hang out. So those are our 4 buckets of work for the summer. And then if you go to slide 14, yeah, thank you so much, Mallory. These are actually the deliverables. We're not going to get into these right now, but you will have a chance to look at them. There's a lot of work, but we're going to share the load. There's 75 people on this call right now, so we can do a lot.
Before you move forward, Antonia, I just want to point out, not to jump the gun, but just to provide some care for the folks in the room right now. After this call, you're going to obviously receive the recording of this. You will also receive a document that outlines all of these buckets of work. So you have some time to just look at it very closely. And then you'll have an opportunity to say like, yes, this is the bucket that I want to be a part of. Or like, ooh, I don't know if this is where I need to be this summer. And so don't feel like, it may feel like a lot of information right now. And I know our calls the last 2 days were heavy on information, but you will have some time to kind of look through this over the course of the rest of the day to just see what those specific tasks are and see how well that aligns with your vision of your role on this team. Just want to make sure you know that. So don't feel like you have to process everything in the next 30 minutes.
Thank you so much for saying that. All right, so let me stop there. I see some comments in the chat box that we might want to Mallory and DeAndre, are there things here that there's some here that are really your questions, and then I can talk a little bit about the lesson designs.
Yep. I'm responding in the chat.
Oh, okay. You're responding right in the chat.
Yep.
So the lesson designs are probably going to be pretty radically different than what happens in the classroom, because we can't have kids on Zoom for 6 or 7 hours a day sitting with us, and we can't really handle that anyway. It's just not good for a body. And we need to build out things that students can do autonomously on their own but they need to be, they can't really look like what they would be doing if they were in the classroom with us and we were there to jump in immediately to support them. And so they will need to look differently. We will be making them visually powerful for students, and we will be working out ways for students to have a lot of choice without, so we'll be designing lots of ways for students to explore things. And in ways that we don't have to do if we're face-to-face, and also, just we need one of the biggest things students say that they're missing on remote learning, and this is not in DeSoto, this is nationally. So I did a whole bunch of research into all these surveys that were being done about like what are people happy with remote learning and what are they not happy with. And mostly they're not so happy with, of course, none of us had any time to prepare anything. But the things they like is that they can go at their own pace, that they have some control over their schedule, and that they have some choice about what they're going to do when. So we don't want to lose any of those things, because that was pretty universally said. but we have to build in the other, which is like, I feel lonely. I feel cut off from people I care about. I feel like there's nobody checking in on me. And again, this is not DeSoto. This is like kids from all over the country, all over the world, some of them. And parents saying, I can't be there to help my kid with everything. I've got too many things going on. And so we want to build for that. And that does, when we want to build for when we are not there, what will drive a student to say, hey, I'm really excited to learn about cell biology, or hey, like, that's not going to pop to the most kids' minds, but we can make it so. And so what do we need to do to make it so? That's what we're going to design for, and it probably is not going to look anything like really much of what we've done before. It doesn't mean your skills are not like absolutely critical. We just have to translate them to a new context.
Okay, let's take a second and breathe. Take a second and breathe. I don't think Zoom has a thumbs down function, so you can't really say that you aren't feeling good. But if you want to throw a thumbs up and let us know if you're feeling good to keep moving forward and keep digesting information, that would be awesome. Or you can put in the chat how you're feeling. And just so you know, Dr. Weaver is responding to questions directly in the chat. Ms. Cole Hamilton is also recording all questions so that we can respond to them at the end of this call. So take 2 minutes to just process and react.
I can answer Ms. Hegwood's question. You're going to volunteer.
Do you mind answering in the chat? Sorry, Antonio. Do you mind answering in the chat feature? And
oh,
then
sure.
Then that way we can slide into talking about
Absolutely.
timeline, which I know is another big thing for folks. Take 1 more minute to just process, thumbs up, questions, comments, concerns, throw them in the chat. Yes. Okay. All right. Now we're going to shift. Feel free to keep populating questions. We will get to them either during this session or afterward in our follow-up email. But now we want to talk about the timeline. So looking at this schedule, this is what we are signed up for over the next couple of weeks. Those of you I was able to talk to on the phone yesterday after about noon, you had a better taste of this. I did tell you that for the next 2 weeks, we were going to be heavy in professional learning mode. In order for us to do this work with fidelity, we have to make sure that we're all on the same page and that our mindsets are primed in order to do this level of work. So looking at, Monday through Thursday of next week, we're looking at, Monday is about a half day of work, and then Tuesday through Thursday is about a full-ish day. And you'll see the guiding questions of what we will focus on. I'm sure Dr. Weaver will jump in a second and just kind of co-sign that if you are making the decision to be a part of this work, this is the priority. I know with all of you that I spoke to one-on-one, you understand that the timeline is tight, but you also understand that this work is important and it is necessary. And so we definitely need all hands on deck for this. So if something comes up in your schedule that kind of bumps up against this, we do want you to problem solve and figure that out.
Yeah, I am. And this is a question, do people feel like they got a good sense of what the big buckets of work are? Like, I know we spent some time in at least one of them, and maybe I just missed it. I had 2 little girls over here, so I had to give them some time and attention. But do people feel like they got a big sense of like, these are the buckets of work that we're working on over these next several weeks? And if people can just say yes or no or kind of, because then that helps me say the next thing in the chat. I'm going to review the recording. Yeah, kind of. Yes.
You keep in mind, you'll get a written version of all of this to review
Kinda.
as well.
But before we go to schedule, if we could just kind of go back to to the slide that talks about the buckets, yeah. And this is similar to the, could you go back one more to the larger one? One more. Nope, one more than that. There we go. Can you all see this framework here, this roadmap? So these are all of the buckets that over these next several weeks we will all have, to different degrees, a hand in creating, revising, and putting together. And these are some big buckets, right? This culture of competency, right? That's us thinking differently about how we talk about and we experience teaching and learning. Um, Creating these competencies, aligning them to what we call power standards. And many of you are aware of power standards, right? These are the big, standards that every kid, like if they don't learn all of it, like they have to learn these things. And then there are T's. So it's like, how do we connect those T's to the power standards, to the competencies, and doing that thoughtfully? Like that's a bucket of work, there. Redesigning structures, that's looking at resources, people, time, money, and space. That's a bucket of work there. The learning experiences, what kids experience, on a daily, hourly, minute by minute basis. Do we build in time for them to have time to meditate, to stretch, to do some yoga, and also do parts of their project, right? Like, all of the systems and policies that we have to ask permission to be exempted from so that this model can go. This is the work here. And then if you go to the next slide, what we've tried to do, the next one, yeah, the one more, the one, then one more. And this one is like, here is the work strand for DeSoto. So we took those items and then we further kind of codified them into these buckets. And I don't think that you all clicked on the link, but I think that would be helpful. So
Well,
I'm
it's
sorry?
not live in, oh, hang on, hang on.
Yeah, just hold there. You don't have to click it yet. But what I want to explain to folks is that these are, and when you get this, these are linked. And so for each bucket, you click it, and there is like a project plan. Like it's like, here's the things that have to happen. Like it is very, very clear and detailed, and we'll be updating those. And so there'll be work streams. So we have the large design team, but then there's these, smaller groups that focus intently on some of these aspects here, that are really, really important. And one of the ones that I also point your attention to is this pink space here, systems and structures. And one is like re-envisioning faculty and staff roles. Now, we talked about in our model having, a redefined teacher role, right? So there are 4 roles as opposed to one person assuming every responsibility. It's 4 different roles. Like we'll need people to help build out the competencies for that, and align it to actually, like, what does role 2, like what is the role 2 schedule? Does role 2 have a bucket of 50 students, 100 students? How often is that person meeting with students, do intervention acceleration? Like you all are figuring all those things out, and at the same time we're also trying to get feedback from students and parents and community based on the work that y'all are creating, so that is not something that we're just creating ourselves, but we are creating with our end users, our students and our teachers. And so that'll be kind of ingrained within this work. And someone said, when can you tell us about compensation? I'm not sure what you mean. Compensation for this work or compensation differently? For like next year. And so that'd be helpful to know for this work. Yeah, it'll be a stipend. I think that's part of the conversation later, but it'll be a stipend. And HR will send out, I believe today, will send out the information about what that stipend is. The stipend will be our best effort contribution to individual teachers. It's a lot of folks on this call. That stipend won't be equivalent to the amount of time and energy and effort you put in at all at this moment. But it is significant enough, you know, in what we're able to do now. So I do want to address that. But I just want you all just to see, like, these buckets represent all of the work of the system, and you all are going to be a part of doing all the work of the system.
I would like to add to that. Each of these buckets represents a project plan. Each of these buckets will have some leadership to kind of help guide and direct the work. So if you're looking at that and you're like, oh, well, where do we even begin? Don't fear on that front. You will have some guidance in these specific areas to kind of just help direct. And I know I saw in the chat that some people were interested in kind of supporting different buckets of work, and the people who are serving in lead positions in those spaces should be able to help you navigate doing a project in this bucket and doing a project in this other bucket. But as Dr. Weaver has said, this essentially right here is the scope of what we are creating.
And so I say all of that just to say this. This is the priority for our system right now. Like, this is where, if you're on contract now, like, a lot of your time and you're on one of these work streams, like a lot of, like 90% of your time is going to have to go to building the system that we all are going to have to operate in next year. And so we're not creating different systems. Like, this is the system that we're creating. So your energy, your time, your brain power, you know, has to go in this area. That's why we're trying to categorize them and have you all be a part of the category that makes the most sense for your interests and for your work. And for some of you to ask, hey, can we be in different ones? I'm not going to say no at all. I also know that what you have to do in each of these categories are going to be significant. And so, like, if you have the time, you know, absolutely. And I think there's other slides that talks about like how we go about sharing the work that's being done in each of these buckets, so that other people have an opportunity to comment on, provide feedback. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I really just wanted this slide and this work to just for you all just to really get a sense of the weight of it and the responsibility that I'm personally invested in you all, you know, in your skill set and your abilities. Like, it's all going towards this.
Okay. I'm going to shift us back forward. I don't want to gloss over the specific times, but this will get emailed out to you. What I want to do is look at what Dr. Weaver just referenced, just how we're kind of supporting each other's work. And so after these first 2 weeks that are heavily focused on professional learning, that's when you'll kind of shift into your groups kind of functioning as their own teams. And you'll notice here in the kind of the weekly model, there are these spaces called feedback circles. And that's essentially where you would be able to kind of provide some feedback and support what's happening in the other streams. And so for maybe you are somebody who's like, oh, I love curriculum, but I also want to support the culture work, but you don't have maybe the time for that. Perhaps you could just sit in that curriculum space and then participate in a feedback circle in order to work with your peers who are doing that work and kind of give your insights and input there. This also will be emailed out to everybody. So what I want to share, I'm going to move to here. So what's going to get shared with you after this meeting? You're going to receive this document. Perfect. Excellent.
Actually, Mallory, can we send the whole slide deck and then people can log in to this document through there?
Yes, that's the plan. So you will, through this slide deck, you're going to get this document here. And this is the document that outlines all of the big ideas. So the 4 big work streams, the definition of the work that's going to happen in those streams. And so you'll see that the deliverables are present here. And then you'll see some additional supports where you can kind of look and just see what it is we're attempting to create. And then you'll have a space to add your name to the document. The other thing that I would like to show you that is going to come out in the email, because while I consider myself to be an incredible optimist, I am also a realistic human being. You're going to receive a form that is checking in with you. And I mentioned that to a lot of you on our calls the last 2 days, that after this meeting, I would check in with you, but there are also 70 plus of you. And I'm not going to call every one of you. And so this is an opportunity for you to take some time and think and make a decision. Is this the work that I see myself doing this summer? And that's a question particularly for those of you who are off contract. So for our classroom, for our teachers. And then also giving us an idea of where you see yourself in the work. So which bucket you see yourself aligning to. Doing this allows me to just have a picture of how many people want to do each thing, because we want to make sure that we have enough hands taking care of the curriculum work, because that's the biggest load. And we just want to make sure that we have a good representation across the system of who is doing what. You'll also get a copy of the recording. You'll also get some additional resources that will support you for next week's professional learning. You will get a copy of the schedule. I'm going to send you a lot of things. I realize there's a lot going on. Any high-level questions that can't be answered in a follow-up message?
So I just want to note, like Shannon, you've been writing a couple of really great comments. And so I know this is a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. Unfortunately, the whole summer may feel like that. And so that's one of the things to like check in on over the next few days is like, can I do that? Am I up for that? We believe you are completely, and we are really like, we want to drink from the same fire hose as you are. But it's not, this is going to be messy and super exciting, but not terribly easy to put in a small box. Like, we are trying to put something together for young people in the fall that they've never had before. And most of us have never done it before. So we both have to learn it and imagine it and then create it. You are part of this call because you are the people that the district feels are the people. Like, you're the ones. But one of the things to sit with is like, you know, is this working? Can I do this right now? And I do want to say, and I put in one of my comments, you know, we need all hands on deck. We need as many hands as possible. We need as much expertise and passion as possible. And if you come to a place where you're like, look, I just cannot commit 24/7 for the next 8 weeks, but here's what I can do, then please go to Mallory, please go to Dr. Weaver and see what can be worked out. Don't just take yourself out of the picture on your own, because we need you. We just totally need you, every single one of you. And so, you know, we have our wish list of what people can do, and you know your reality.
Mal, you're muted.
You didn't hear my deep breath. So, like we just kind of keep reiterating, I think we keep repeating ourselves because we just want to make sure that people know that while this is big work, we are all in this together and we want to take care of each other in the process. So after this meeting, you will get an email that kind of outlines all of this stuff. Dr. Vargas has asked if there's going to be like a shared drive that kind of holds all this. And yes, there is. Once the team is set and we feel confident about who is taking on the work, that's when we will fold people into the shared drive. But for today, it will be an email with some links and some information just to guide your thinking as you decide how you best fit into the work. Like Antonia said, please reach out. Matter of fact, I'm going to tweak the form, and I'm going to make an option that says like, I'm not certain I can do 24/7, but I want to do something. And so those people who want to do maybe some more support level work, maybe some smaller projects within all of this, absolutely want to hear that from you, and we will fold you in over the course of the summer. Dr. Weaver is going to stay on longer to keep answering questions. I will stay on. I'll keep the Zoom room open. I'll start working on this feedback for you all. But we will also, with all the questions that have been captured, we will also get answers to those, and I will share that in the email as a link. Any big questions good for the good of the cause?
Hey,
Mallory, there's
Antonia,
one.
is there anything that we could possibly show the group that they just to like, okay, we know we got to create it, but like, is there something that we can see that like, oh, this is what it could look like?
Yeah. I can show you. Why don't I show you two possible things? Hold on. All right, I'm going to quickly share my screen. Just be patient because I didn't have these loaded up. But let me find the right one here. Here, okay. So this is the first thing. This was for middle and high school that we built. Let me make it a little bigger. This is a student-facing document. So imagine you are, in 7th grade, and I don't know in Texas exactly what's learned in 7th grade, but let's imagine it's something about the Civil War. And you need to make connections to the current movement in our country. And so you're asking students to go back and forth between like, how did we get from the Civil War to where we are? What were some of the things that happened? So we're connecting it to current life, but we're also digging deep into history and trying to look at the threads, like what a real historian would do. And you're saying to students, we're not gonna write an essay this time. We're gonna do a lot of essay writing, but we're not gonna do it this time. We're gonna make a photo essay. The images, especially right now, are very powerful. The images from then were as well. So you do your study, you're exploring, you're looking at all kinds of stuff, and that could look like, let me grab one more doc. And this is not the right example, I'm just showing you a visual. Hold on. That could look like, I'm going to show you a science one, even though I just got all excited about history. Okay. So I gave you a history example of a question, but you could do a science one. Are our oceans dying? And it's some piece of, this is what we're calling an investigation board. And on here, so somebody asked, is the learning the same as what we do in the classroom? Yes and no. Inside of each one of these are activities that might be something you do in your classroom, and the student can click on it and go to the activity. But here is the investigation board is organized around questions and exploration. You can see on this dark teal, there's a game a student might play. If we did this for Philly clients, so if you look down at the bottom, you see Philly connections, like so if we were doing the history example, what's happening in Philly? What happened in Philly during the Civil War? What happened through history in Philly? Now what's happening in Philly? What's the history around all that? You make the connections there, and then you make career connections, like who gets involved, like who's running Black Lives Matter? Who are the people who are trying to make new policies? Who's trying to make Juneteenth a national holiday? What can you do if you study history? If you study this, what are the connections? So we're trying to build something, and then you can see the colors are different kinds of activities. So orange is all reading literacy, supported literacy. Hot pink are larger activities. You can see there's a few that are named, assignment 3, assignment 5. Green in this example are science, and blue are math. So you could, if some people want to work interdisciplinarily and say, yeah, there's a great way to do a math thing intersected with this, we're going to look at data around, you know, where the Black migration happened in order to go, you know, in order to escape all of the Jim Crow and other terrible abuses through our history. We could build a board like this, and the main work you're doing is finding the resources and creating activities, and then somebody else will put it into the board, or will, like, making the board is not the point. Finding the resources and creating powerful activities for students, which is what you do. That is already your wheelhouse and your expertise, but orienting it in the way where students are like, oh, wow, I want to go in that Philly Connections box right now. There's a game on this. I've got to go try that as soon as we get off our link, whatever. So we're going to think in terms of how can students have choice, move at their own pace, find things they're interested in, not do every single thing. If you look on this, there's 5 things that are required, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. And the goal, if we stay oriented around competency, is to say, look, your job is to create an amazing photo essay. If you may or may not be able to do that if you only do the 5 assigned tasks, but your job is an amazing essay. Like, that is what we're doing here. So I've given you all these other things, and you can find any other things on the internet that you want. But the goal is a really powerful photo essay. Then you go back here to the photo essay, and you're the student, and I clicked the wrong thing. You go back to the photo essay. Let me get there. And this will take you through, and again, you have choice as a student. I want to understand what this is, and I can click on that, and it will take me to understanding it. And there's slides that are put together where a student can learn. Or I want to see examples, and I can click to that, and it takes me over to some really beautiful examples. And then as a student, I'm exploring these examples. And then I'm going to now analyze them so I can figure out, like, oh, this is important to put in my photo essay. I need a hook. I need to have emotional impact. I need to know what the message is of this story. And then I've got to close it out in some powerful way. So then we're teaching the student to do it. But this, if a student got so excited that they wanted to move through this and just go, 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 and then turn it into you as a teacher, they can. Like, it's all here. And it's all easy to navigate, and it's all built for them. And then another student could say, I have no idea what a hook is. What are you talking about? What is that? And maybe 7 students say that, and you say, okay, great. I'm going to send you a Google invite to the 7 of you. Let's figure out what time. Okay, 2 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to figure out hook. I'm going to pull some together for you. And we're going to look together, and we're going to get this thing figured out. And you're going to work on your hook with me. Right? So the kids who say they need help with the hook, the other 5 are like, I don't need help. I got this. That's stupid. I don't want to do that. They write their own hook, and you look at it and you're like, hey, that wasn't good enough. No. You want to meet with me, or you want to try again? Here's some feedback. Then you keep going. But it's in their hands. They know what they're supposed to do next, and your job is coaching them to excellence. High excellence. So we're turning a little bit on their heads. We're giving them a lot of control because we have to. They're not sitting in front of us. And then we build in a lot of structures, more than you've had to build into your activities before, because they're not sitting in front of you. You're not there. So we can't leave them hanging. So that's that's the idea. That's the direction. You do not have to worry about making things beautiful. You do not have to be a Google slide goddess. You do not have to, be visually organized and know how to use 100 fonts. Don't worry about that. The main thing you have to do is bring your amazing intellects to thinking about, how do I teach someone to do a hook? What's a little activity that I can teach someone to figure out their hook? The rest we will package it. It will be pretty.
Hey,
we don't need to worry about that.
And so let me jump in before folks started jumping off, because Mallory's like, hey, you can go. Like, this is helpful so people can like concrete, like, what does this really look like? I want you to show them something else. Show them like, what is the competency set? How is that? How can kids really progress? Like, how do we tie the standards to competency? Like, I think that visual map for them would be important. And then also, I got to ask you this, the opportunity one. Just you can just show those, because I think these folks here, like, they want to say, okay, what does this really look like, the nuts and bolts, and why is this different than what we've done before?
Really? Are you sure this is not too much drinking from the fire hose?
It might be, but I said bring it on. That's what I'm talking about.
I do not want everyone running away and saying, no, thanks. I can't wait to see it, but I'm not up for doing it.
No, folks like, no, let's see it. We put it out there. And again, we're going to, like, next week, design team, we'll go into this more and more in detail, but just a little taste is not bad at all.
Okay, I'm down for it. I don't want to be patronizing. I just want to make sure people really are hanging in. All right, so when we say competencies, what we mean are things that sit above the TEKS. The TEKS are great. I know everybody's attached to the TEKS in Texas. It's great. Not saying we don't need to do them. You have to do them. And let's be honest, there's a lot of stuff you have to do in your real life work that are not measured by the TEKS. So all of you have to be good in your jobs at persuasion and speaking in really powerful ways. That is a standard, but it's not measured on the TEKS. When you take the test, kids don't speak. There's no speaking attached to it. So you're not tested on that. There's also things, so what we've built is a set of competencies that you need to do in the professional world. If I'm gonna be successful as an architect, as a doctor, as a general in the Army, as a store manager at Best Buy, I have to be able to do many, many things that sit above the TEKS. The TEKS support, but don't get you there by yourself. And so we've created what we consider our kind of global, I use the word global in quotes, some competencies that most of us would say, yeah, we need to know how to do that. Like, we need to know how to read critically. I've never met anyone who said school shouldn't work on that. But, I've also never met anybody who said we shouldn't be able to express ourselves in school, that we need to learn how to do that. Some of these other ones, though, are less oriented around school and more around hard skills in school, like building networks. What we know is that young people who can build networks in their own community and outside of their own community have a much, much higher rate of employment. Because most jobs, 80 to 90% of jobs are gotten through referrals and connections. So if our students don't know how to build a network, and we aren't teaching them how to build a network, then they are immediately at a profound disadvantage when they graduate from high school. And that doesn't mean, we say, oh, I believe you should. I mean, like, we could teach kids how to do that. We could focus on that. We could say, I need you to meet 3 people in your church that you've never met before. I want you to go talk with them, find out about them, interview them. I need you to go, to the library and connect with the librarian and ask them to help you figure something out. I need you to, all the different ways we can help our young people in DeSoto. They don't have to go out of DeSoto. And they can do a lot of it virtually. I want you to do an interview. Let's find somebody at the hospital who does medicine in a way that you're interested. Somebody in your family has diabetes. Somebody in your family has heart disease. Let's see if we can get an interview with a heart specialist. Hello. And we're going to talk with a heart specialist. So there's lots of different elements to these. And what we will play with is, what are the ones that are most important to you? Not off this list. We're going to start not on this list. You are just going to share what you believe your young people must have in order to not just survive, but thrive. And from there, we're going to build competencies that reflect your values and your beliefs that are, you know, how can we have young African-American students be the shining stars in this country? What do we need to do to have that happen? And I, in a lot of ways, feel you are uniquely suited for this question. I've rarely been in a district, and I gotta say, I want to be treading carefully here, with so many African-American leaders, mostly in the places where I work. This is not the reality of where I work. And so one, I feel incredibly honored to be here. And I want to be very careful while I'm here that I am listening and learning from you. But you are uniquely suited. One of the most important things we know is that young kids need to see people like them as educators. And your students have that. They, just by your commitment, your students already have that. That's like an incredibly powerful starting point. So building competencies is what we're going to live into it. We're going to build our learning experiences around it. We're going to figure out how to connect around it. We're going to figure out what it means to coach kids to be really good at these things. And we'll go from there, basically. Oops.
Now the map, right? So you have the competencies, right? Like, what is that visual there, so people can see, like,
Okay.
we'll have this map.
All right.
Because folks in chat, like, all right.
Are there like 3 people left on the call?
No, it's 69, right, folks? People want to know, they want to see it.
Okay.
We had a question about, like,
I can't see any of you while I have my screen shared, so I'm just like trusting that you're still there and that you're not
and folks are want to know, like,
snoring on your couches.
We have to teach the TEKS. We have these competencies, so we want to be able to show how that spans out there. So it'd be great for folks to see.
Okay, let me get one last thing going here. I'm sorry for the slowness. College ready. Okay. I also can't see the comments, so will someone just interrupt me if there's things I need to be attending to?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just show you a couple slides. Let me just make sure I have it. Okay. We were lucky a few years ago, we were able to look at the freshman college syllabi of a lot of colleges, some very tiny ones that are pretty easy to get into. And then we looked at MIT, we looked at University of Michigan, like we looked around state schools, a few extremely elite schools, and then some just regular everyday schools that most kids could get into. And what we found was really shocking. So we looked at the syllabi, not the courses, like what do kids have to do when they get in these courses? If we really want our kids to make it, what do they have to be able to do? And this is what we found, which was, you know, it's a little bit like take in a very deep breath, right? And if you have kids who've been to college, and some colleges obviously are test mills, but most are not. And if you have kids who've been to college and you ask them, what have you been doing? It'll probably be something like this. This is an average, so it's not perfect, but it's a lot. And it's a deep breath kind of a moment to notice, which is they will read conservatively 5,000 pages. If you think about taking an English class, both first and second semester, you read a novel every week. That's one class. So then there's, you know, whatever you read in your history class, and then whatever you read in your biology class, or whatever other courses you're taking, your psychology class, right? Or whatever. It's a lot of reading. So they have to be very fast, and they have to be able to synthesize. They have to do close reading, but they also have to skim and read the ends of things and read the headings, read the chapters, go find a synopsis, like the whole thing. They have to learn all the tricks of figuring out how to take in that much information and process it in a meaningful way. they're going to have to write 90 to 100 pages in their first year, and it's polished writing. It's not journal entries. It's not notes. It's not like, you know, here's my answers at the end of the chapter. It's a lot. It's the big time. And this is where students falter, this reading and this writing. If they get too many low grades in their first month, they drop out. Now, kids drop out for lots of personal reasons as well, like financial or family issues, but the academic reasons kids drop out is this page right here. They do a lot of position papers, they do research, they do lab report. This is high level stuff. And if you think about it as it aligns to career, this is what we all do, some version of this, right? If you're trying to get your principal to make a change, you are going to effectively write a position paper. It might just be a memo, but you're effectively trying to persuade your principal to do something. Or if you're the principal and you need Dr. Weaver to change something, you're engaged in that kind of work. Or you need to do research in order to make that happen. You have to present as a teacher every day, as a principal every day. You're presenting ideas, you're presenting information, you're presenting your position. So these are real things that we do in a adapted version in our own professional lives, but this is what it looks like when you get them to college. Now, I know you have a lot of students who become professional athletes. You also have students who go into the military. There are careers students do. I am game with all of that. I'm not telling you that I think every student of yours must go to college. I do believe that they all should have the choice. They should be prepared. They should be able to say, I want to go do that. They don't have to. They can say, I don't want to go do that. Forget it. That's not interesting to me. I want to go be a chef. I'm going to go do that. That's cool. I'm for it. But I don't want them to say, I can't go to college, and so I'm going to go do something else. I want them to say, I could, and I choose other. So how do you build a K-12 system that gets you there? It's doable. It's hard, but it is doable. So we built this little map. And I promise this is the last thing I'm going to show you, unless even if Dr. Weaver begs for something.
The learning progressions. That was what I was talking about.
Oh, the learning. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are looking, this is for those of you who are spreadsheet geeks, the math people in the room, computer science people in the room. What we did was, if you look at this document, across the top, across the top, you see the tasks that I just showed you, right? Expository writing, research paper, lab report, engineering design. Those are the tasks of college. Underneath that is the numbers I just showed you. How much students have to do in their first year. So if we're going to if we want to be able to figure this out from, let's say third grade, when kids can actually write and read to understand, not just learning to read, then we need to give them lots of opportunities all the way through. This is just a high school map you're looking at here, but this is organized by discipline. So you can see in the high school map, we've got, regular core courses, but picture fourth grade in here as well. We're building out the map to go all the way down for you. It's just not done yet, but you can still get the idea here. In ELA, I'm going to try and get the gray row. These are the number of opportunities they're going to get in high school, at this imaginary high school, to prepare for college. You can see that those numbers are good. Like, these are good numbers. They're going to have more practice on things in high school over their career than they will be asked to do in their first year. But remember, we're spreading that out over 4 years, and they're going to have to do the equivalent of that in 1 year. So we need the numbers to be high. We need them to have lots of practice. Then you can look, like in ELA, there's certain focuses. So what we propose to schools is that certain departments, and for elementary, I'll talk to you in just a sec. I'll give you sort of a way to think about this in a different context, because you teach everything. But each department chooses a few tasks to get really good at teaching and designing. So if I'm an ELA teacher, I've got to be really good at teaching kids to write literary analysis essays. I'm the only department where they're going to do that. So that's got to be a priority for me in my year, and my whole department across the high school needs to focus on that. You could say persuasive writing, right? Because we know they write tons of position papers. You're going to own it. You're going to make sure every student can do it. And we can roll that right down to 3rd grade. Every student is going to learn some version. It could be a blog post. It could be a letter to the editor. It could be, you know, there's lots of different ways to do persuasive writing, but everybody is going to learn how to do that from the earliest age in different formats. Same thing with literary analysis. You can have a 4th grader say, you know, I thought this book was not good because I couldn't see myself in the pages and the characters were too mean. I couldn't identify with any of them. You know, don't read this book. Right? Like, you can do whatever it is. You can do examples all the way down to 3rd grade, and you start tracking how many opportunities kids have gotten, so that when they get to high school, they can say, oh, literary analysis, I got this. Just, I'm going to tell you my topic. Don't tell me what to write about. I got this. We're doing whatever book we're doing, I've got it handled. Now, social studies, you don't want them to do all the same tasks that English did, because we've got to learn other tasks, right? So they focus and they say, students in our class are going to be really good at research. They're going to do enough research that they can do research well. And then we're going to do other things as well. And there's other tasks off the side of this math. And then math, same thing. We've got a few things we're working on, and we're going to do it really well. The task will take different content, and it'll focus in different ways, but each department essentially owns a certain skill set and says, we promise you, child, you family, and you colleagues, that the student will get really good at this while they're doing math classes, or they will get really good at this while doing ELA classes. So it becomes a K-12 commitment to get students ready for college, and in a very, very concrete way. And in a way where you're not asked to teach everything. You're not asked to get great at everything. You're not asked to constantly be like, oh, I've got to think of another thing. Oh, I've got to think of another. There's a few things, you do them in different ways around really rich content that you and the students find really exciting. So we focus, we give a lot of practice. And the way to talk about this in terms of competency is, I think if a student has 21 opportunities in high school to do a literary analysis essay, and they're really well supported, they're going to be really good at it at the end of 21 opportunities.
Antonia, in 2 minutes, learning progressions. How does this system look over the system? I mean, how does learning
Over the
look
TEKS,
over the,
you mean including the TEKS?
Yeah, like just that visual of the learning progression. So you.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You all are very, very patient. All right, I'm going to show you a K-12 one on reasoning quantitatively. Okay, let me make my screen small. You will not be able to read the writing, but that's okay. All right, so, oops, let me make it a little bigger. All right, so quantitative reasoning lines up often with math, but you can use it in computer science. You can use it in science. It's not just a math thing, right? It's a way of thinking that's like mathematics. I mean, like mathematicians. Down the column B here, you see the skills. We're going to teach kids to analyze and interpret data. We're going to teach kids to represent data. We're going to solve problems. Is there any more? And we're going to solve problems. There's 3. Level 1 is pre-K 1, pre-K 2. Level 7 is college ready. These don't line up with grade levels. These line up with how people learn these things. So I could be 15. I just came to you from Mexico. I had interrupted formal schooling. And I have no idea how to deal with data. And you give me something to work with, and I show up here, level 1. I'm 15. It's my stage, not my age. Right? This is not about how old you are. It's about where you're starting to learn. If I show up there and you give me an assignment in level 6, I'm done for. Completely done for. That does not mean I should give you a pre-K assignment, right? Because I'm 15. I'm not gonna. If you hand me something that the pre-K is using, I'm not going to feel respected. But it does mean there's a whole lot of scaffolding that has to go into a student being able to do anything like analyzing and interpreting data. In the remote world, you can make that happen. Because you don't have 25 students sitting in front of you that you can't even leave the room to go to the bathroom, right? You are not babysitting. Unfortunately, the parents, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just saw somebody's face. In other words, you have an incredible role. You are teaching, but you're also essentially caretakers of the young people. And it's built so that kids have to be with you all the time, right? That's all I meant, not in a disrespectful way. What now, you have a freedom from that. Unfortunately, it's an incredible burden on parents, but you personally, to do your jobs, can start to design, work with the small groups of kids who need help to get from row 1 to row 6. I want to tell you, this can transform learning for kids. I've seen kids make 5 grade levels of practice in 8 months. It's really doable. It is not easy, but I have seen that happen. I've seen kids make 3 to 4 years of growth in 6 to 8 months. Like, learning isn't linear. They don't have to go through all the steps from level 1 to level 6 to get to level 6, but they need somebody to help them learn some of the key skills to get to level 6. By moving into the remote world, you can have flexibility to pull those students in and work specifically with them when they need it. So that, I don't mean it's simple. I don't mean you could start that tomorrow. I don't mean like that's going to take us, a year, 2 years to kind of pull all the pieces of that together. But your students could fly, truly fly towards college with these kinds of shifts. And that is not my magic. That's going to be your magic. But I have seen it. I've seen people do this, not just 1 or 2 people. So that's the big picture.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
much
you.
more of the big picture than I thought we would be sharing today.
Thank you, Antonia. Yes, and I appreciate you for doing that. I think folks, I think this helps people take these words and the sayings and all the things that we've been kind of throwing out there, and it says, okay, this is actually what it looks like, both from a student perspective, and I'd even ask you to show them the teacher perspective. You'll see that next week possibly, but this, there is a goal here. And if you look at this document, y'all, like, this is really about getting clarity for students. What am I supposed to learn? Where am I in my learning progression? Clarity for parents. It's clarity for teachers. If I'm a teacher, right, like, I can better intervene if I know that students at level 5 cannot analyze data sets involving linear or nonlinear relationships, versus the student can't, I don't know, do something. Math is not my, so this is not a great one here. But I think we can better intervene if we know more clearly what the areas of opportunity are for students, and we can better accelerate them. And then this is what we start to design our engaging units and our learning experiences are around, allowing students to be able to experience level 1 content if they need to, or level 2 content, level 4 content if they need to. And so this is a much clearer system than actually what we have right now, and then what many people have. And your effort to create this is going to be be really important. Secondly, some folks asked about training and professional learning. Being a part of this design team, like you're going to get that as you are imagining and designing. And that goes into the roles that we are looking to have educators play next year. Is, you know, there are some folks who are going to be curriculum facing. They're going to really understand this, create this, deliver mini lessons virtually, and et cetera, do metacognition. There are some folks that are going to really intervene and accelerate. And then some folks are going to really focus on SEL and all those other pieces that bring connectivity and communities for kids, and other roles. And so that is part of the work. This summer, it is about, you know, creating those opportunities for professional learning to happen right now for those that are engaged. It's creating those opportunities for professional level learning for folks who are not a part of the design team, which is a big part of our teaching force and our leadership force, so that they can experience the learning that they need, so they can be ready to play the roles they need to play in the fall. It's doing all of those things. So yes, that's it. There's some other questions in here. That's have another. Okay, am I correct to understand that competency-based learning is not all cross-curricular? You want to respond to that, Antonia?
Yeah, I just texted. So it can be either. You know, there might be a couple of you who are saying, I really want to work together with somebody to design something. I'm a science teacher and I've always wanted to do something with math because it makes so much sense. Great. We are so in support of that. And others may be, look, I just want to do poetry with my students, and that is what we're going to dig into, and that is going to be the best thing, and that's also great. We are not trying to force on you what you have to teach. In other words, you know your content, you know what students need to learn. I do not know those things, and I am not here to tell you what those things are. What I want to think about with you is, how do we make this something that every student says, bring it on right now. When are you getting me that poetry thing? And that is, like, I think some of it's about being visual. Some of it's about giving them more control and choice. Some of it's about meeting with them in different kinds of configurations. So those are the things. The what is, you are the experts. And so if you look back at the slide, when you get the slide deck, you'll see the calendar for the next 2 weeks, and you will see the things we talked about on there. You'll see we're going to do opportunity mapping together as a full group. We're all going to sit down and try and figure out, what do we think our students need to be doing across our curriculum? And then we're going to tag the content to that. So English will break out, K-12, social studies, science, and they start thinking through, like, what are the units that I've always taught, that I know Texas needs me to teach, that I know is right. And we'll start building those and tagging them along. So that's our first piece of work. I can help support the structure and the map. You bring all the expertise around what, and what you know is right for young people. And so I'm just a kind of facilitator of a product, and the study is yours. So, oh yeah, here's the question. Sorry, Elise. Differentiating between primary and secondary. So we're thinking there's 4 bands of grouping here. There's pre-K 2, 3, 5, middle, and high, because there really are developmental stages that are quite dramatically different in every way, not just academically, obviously, but social emotionally. But we don't want to lose the K-12 vision at the same time. So there'll be things where we'll break off into departments and people will break into smaller groups within that, the developmental groups. But then we also want to bring it back together, because we don't want to look at a map where, oh, nobody decided to do research. What are we going to do there? Right? We need to look across a whole integrated K-12 experience for our students. So that's, but yes, you're going to work with people who are developmentally, working with, understand kids that, like, you wouldn't put me in a pre-K 2 group. That's not my strength. Yes, that's exactly right. Vertical alignment, different tiers. Yeah.
So listen, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go right ahead. Go ahead.
Y'all, it's 12:05. Again, I'm gonna stand here for a little bit, and folks that need to go. Here's my last thing on here. It's a lot. It's definitely doable if we're all present and willing to row in the same direction. And we need folks that's going to be thinking differently, but then also thinking about barriers, but then also providing those solutions to those barriers. We won't have any time for discord, for discord, confusion, division. Like none of that can exist in this house for this reason, because of how significant our work is. What we do need though is like, hey, here's a landmine. We got to watch out for that. We got to solve for that. Here's a barrier. What we don't need is negativity or discourse. I just won't allow that at all. And I know that won't happen here with you all. And I say that thinking about my brother who showed me his he's going to get paid from the Army, from the government for life, because he committed his life to serve in the Army, and he bought into those values or beliefs and what they wanted to do, serve and protect, defend our freedom, and he was rewarded for that. Y'all, we are in a fight. We need to be on the same page, on the same team. Our efforts have to go in alignment with each other. I am counting on you all to show up in ways that you've shown up before individually. But more importantly, I'm counting on us to do this together. And so please, there's a required commitment form. Please don't take that for granted or take that lightly. Fill it out, and let us know what way or another you want to go, if you want to be a part of it. And if you send that back, you say, yes, I want to be a part of this, then we're assuming that you are full heart and mind into learning, identifying problems, and solving them with us. And so yours to take it today is to complete that, but also just in the chat, just let me know, what are your initial thoughts, impressions? Where are you right now? Are you committed? Do you see it? I kind of want to know before you leave. And that's all that I have. It's all officially in the meeting, but then I'm also going to stay on if folks have other questions or want to talk to other things. Thank you all so much for your time. Antonia, thank you. Mallory, thank you. Leaders, thank you so much. Have a great Juneteenth.
Yeah. Thank you all. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask people. Mallory, can we try and collect the haikus? They were so beautiful.
I will ask people in the follow-up email.
Okay.
They were fantastic. Trying to capture all of these questions right now.
Oh, you can just download the file of the chat.
I'm transferring them all to a spreadsheet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Sometimes I dig in the wrong spaces.
I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you again for your patience and time and stamina.
Stop doing that, please. Folks are asking if they have other, if you have other commitments for the district. Is there flexibility? Yes, I think we're still working through like the how the work would flow and opportunities for folks to work that may not be the same lift as others that can do it more full time. So yes.
Mallory, I'm going to include links to some of the things I just showed so that when you send out the deck, people can
Great.
explore those things as well. If you're cool with that.
So I'm sorry, was it stated about what would happen in the event, like will the information be recorded on Monday throughout the week so that we can look back at all of the information from Monday? Because, I mean, if you're not available on Monday and you have Tuesday and Wednesday and you have other commitments, how is that going to work? Or how is that going to look?
That's a great question. We'll get back to you on that. I think there'll be some items that are recorded so folks could watch. There are going to be some things that are going to be necessary to actually do work that'll be covered in depth, I think, next week. So just on that commitment form, let us know what your time commitment will be. And I think we'll have to, help place folks in the right work streams based on, or working groups based on their time commitment and the lifts. So make sure you include that for us.
Okay, and also my next question is, I noticed that I think on Monday, it said something like 9 to 3 or
Yep.
to 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is a Zoom meeting that we're going to be able to watch, will it be okay for us to come in after our required commitment or to come in and out? Or how will that work? Once we're in, will the Zoom meetings be locked?
Yeah. Great question. We'll send a follow-up email with that information in there. We actually hadn't thought about that level and what happens if folks want it. So we'll put some thought around that and we'll get an answer to you. Okay. Great questions, Anna.